Welcome to the Holy Spirit's Curriculum of Joy podcast. My name is Wanako Overhuber, and I'm your host. My guest today is Rodger Heard. Welcome, and I'm so happy to have you here.
Thank you, Wanako. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's start out with my opening question. How did you come to see the world the way you do today?
Well, that's a wonderful question. It's been quite the journey of more than 70 years for me. I'll give you my background, I guess. I was born in Los Angeles, California. I do speak Spanish and English and a couple of other languages pretty fluently. And I've traveled around the world. I was trained in India to be a meditator. I have a degree in business administration. I have raised 16 children with 3 different marriages. And I'm currently single and working only on being retired and following spiritual guidance, which is a lot of times telling me that I don't need much of anything. I don't need to do a lot. I don't have a lot of wants. Only to be instrumental in the process of sharing the divine love in this world and bringing people up with what I know or with what I've been given would be a better way to even put that, because I don't know if I know anything. So that's about it for me.
Well, I guess we can go a lot deeper into the views that you've gained or the way you see the world now, because it sounds like you've come to the recognition of what in A Course in Miracles the truly helpful prayer says. So maybe you'd like to go deeper into that, how you live that, how you are able to share and what platforms you've found to share and how you are able to provide that for whoever is willing to hear it or see it or feel it.
Thank you. Okay. Yes, A Course in Miracles has been a part of my life for 6 years. And just before I retired, I came upon a religious group. It wasn't really a church organization. It was called the Center for Spiritual Living in St. George, Utah. And I had a background in just many religions. I was primarily LDS or Mormon during the majority of my child rearing days. But when I came upon the Center for Spiritual Living, I started taking interest in the Course in Miracles. We have a group in St. George that's been going steadily for 25 years, I think it is. It's one of the longest running Course in Miracles groups in the country. And the people that run it were absolutely earth angels, in my opinion. One of them in particular, who was a medium and a clairvoyant with extremely fantastic spiritual gifts. And even though I've had the gift of healing and discernment and meditative abilities that were given to me when I was in India some 20 years ago, that group just absolutely landed in my heart as my kind of folks. So we studied the Course in Miracles. I've been through it at least 3, maybe 4 times. And also from that, I studied the Course of Love. I've also conducted groups that studied the Course of Love and the Way of Mastery, which are 2 books I recommend people use as a follow-up to A Course in Miracles. And there are many others. But again, it's not about what's written, it's about the guidance that you can receive when you tune in to the truths of what have been written and revealed already. I have found that those who are still thinking that Christ will come again, towards the millennium, are missing out, because he's here. He's here where we can access him. And therefore, I recommend to people that they learn to go inside and stop looking for things that are outside and far away, or maybe even not real at all. I like to recite sometimes different chants and mantras in Sanskrit. One of them would be Badoshi Kadoshi, but I'll just give you the English on that one. It's a beautiful lullaby that the Hindu people have been sharing with their children to help them go to sleep. And I think that's a good idea. It's a lullaby. And the words mean in English, you are forever pure, you are forever true. And the dream of this world can never touch you. So put off your attachments and put off your confusion, and you will fly to that place that's beyond all illusion. So in A Course in Miracles, we learn that this existence is a dimension and an illusion of such marvelous complexity that we think it's real, and that we think that we are separate from the divine. And I have come to find and live my life after a fashion that tells me that I am not separate from divine. The divine is within me, and all of us. We are all his children and her children. And my images of what God was have been almost completely replaced by the teachings that he has given to me personally and through these books. That kind of says a little bit about how I got to where I am and who I am. I wake up every morning and I make sure that I'm connected with Spirit. The challenge is usually, can I stay there? And the answer is yes. Although, personally, I still have days when I'm not as there as I want to be. Does that answer some of your questions? Where else would you like me to take that?
Yeah, let's go into that a little deeper. The answer to the question of how you came to find that certainty in yourself, and what drew you inward, perhaps.
Well, what drew me inward was not just this group, and they've been loving and supportive. They're still meeting and loving and supportive. And I have many groups that I'm a part of. You and I are familiar with Lori LaValle's How to Become a Christ. And I love that group. They are so much my brothers and sisters. When I went to India, I became part of the oneness movement. And we were searching for a way to bring the vibration of the entire world up to where we reached the tipping point, that we used to say. And I believe we passed that some time ago. And we passed that by raising the vibration and awareness of people all around the world. And this is measured, quite frankly, by the Heart Math Institute and the Oneness Movement and other organizations that monitor scientifically what our conscious level is and what the Schumann resonance is and how we relate to the vibration that permeates our environment here on Mother Earth. By the way, I also have a little bit of a background in Native American studies and archaeology. So everywhere I turn, more truths and more amazing values show up. And I get to share some of that from time to time. I'm going to be actually teaching at the college here, Southern Utah University, 2 classes. Well, the one that I'm tasked on is teaching Native American flute, which I believe it incorporates oneness philosophy, which is a postmodern philosophy that is studied at many universities now. Another sign that the whole world is opening up their eyes and starting to awaken. I like to use the word ascend. It is, to me, synonymous with awakening to your own divine self. So I'll be teaching one class there, and I do teach with the Way of Mastery groups and various groups of young people. I'm also going to be participating in the Yin on Fire retreats. That'll be in September. And again, that's kind of a eclectic opportunity to share woke kind of philosophy. It's because it's eclectic, I can't speak for everything as being absolutely Course in Miracles perfect, but I don't need perfect. I don't think that's really a thing that matters to me anymore. In fact, one of the more fun courses and books that I've read are some of the books by Brene Brown, who points out the perfectness of our imperfection and the importance of overcoming our guilt. First, we must be responsible and understand that we've got to be very integrous about what our role is, or was, really, in creating the world that we perceive. And then, rather than going from guilt into shame, which is very damaging, we get to heal through the atonement. I like to break that up into syllables. It just happens to spell at one-ment. I love that because oneness works is my work. That's what I attempt to do with bringing people to an awareness of the atonement and of their innocence through overcoming the things that caused us to be ashamed of who we as a human being actually are. Now, I can also go into more woo-woo stuff if you would like. I believe we have some epigenetic work that's going on even. Now that we're waking up to what we're doing, we don't have to be complete with it all for ourselves, but it may show up that we have work that we've a spiritual agreement to do for our ancestors. It's true, our civilization was captured and We've allowed ourselves to become ignorant, would be a nice way to say this. We've allowed ourselves to forget who we are, since we, to coin a common story and phrase, we left the Garden of Eden, would be a good way to say that that's when we thought we were separate from God, and began to create stories in Lamaya, the story of being a human being, that were not conducive to being innocent anymore, or to being divine anymore. Yes, these things needed to be overcome, and we still get to look at them. But I participate probably 40 hours a week. I'm retired, but I probably put in 40 hours a week finding groups, talking to groups, and participating in healing and workshop and meditative experiences. That's for me. It's just my preference for what I want to do. I don't have to recommend that everybody do 40 hours a week of meditation. Oh my goodness, they wouldn't do it. There's just no time. Not in their sense of what time is. And we do, in our life that we're born into, this existence here is a very busy and interesting, intricate creation. So take all the time you need and enjoy life as much as you can. But you'll find that it is easier to enjoy when you realize what is the fiction part of it and what is the path of light and truth. Do you have another question?
I think one of the something that's been going through my mind, and probably through many people's minds, is the issue of atonement. How do you accept that you're innocent even though you're responsible for your experience and your interpretation of it?
Well, let me see. I think I can give you an example. Of course, anytime that we're judging others or anything outside of ourselves, we're actually recreating or reinforcing the creation of this existence. And that'll continue until the last judgment day, which really will be the day that we stop doing it, judging. God isn't doing the judging. To us, we are still wholly perfect, innocent, just as He created us. So how does one do that? The example I had come to mind and to experience is one day I was out walking a labyrinth with a friend, and he's a good religious soul, and so we were in silence and honoring the spirit of the labyrinth. I started first, and so I was around on the other side and actually had gone around a couple of times and was working my way towards the center when I noticed that I had placed my wallet and keys and cell phone outside of the labyrinth on a rock behind a bush. Well, my friend came upon it and picked it up and took it, walked off with it. And I had quite a bit of money in that wallet. So right away I became angry, and I realized that he was robbing me and not such a good friend after all. So I decided right then and there that if I if I break the spirit of the labyrinth, it would ruin the meditation for me, so I didn't say anything. I just kept pressing forward on the path. But I never spoke to him again. Years passed. My dislike for him was profound. My distrust was profound, even though it was based on just my seeing him take my wallet. Most of you would think that he did steal my wallet, my money. After all, I was missing it, and I had to pay a price for his dishonesty as I perceived it. But finally, I did run into him in a very positive gathering, and we got to talking, and I asked, "Why did you steal from me?" And he had no clue what I was talking about. "But I saw you do it." He said, "What did I do? I don't think I've ever done anything to offend you or to rob you." And I said, "I saw you take my wallet off the rock when we were in the labyrinth that day." And he said, "That was your wallet?" I just thought somebody had lost a wallet on the trail, and I took it to the shop next door and turned it into the lost and found. I sat back and I laughed a little bit, thinking, I have been foolish. This is taking accountability for my misperception of his guilt. I paid a price. 2 or 3 years missing my friend and the money that was in the wallet because I had misinterpreted his action. We do this on a day-to-day basis. We look at people and are tempted to judge. The thought will come to us and say, well, that was a rude comment, or they chose to be with other people rather than with me, therefore they don't like me. Therefore, I'll find something that I won't like about them, and tit for tat it goes until we've built up an incredible lie or story, if you want to call it that. So, my friend, when you ask, what is the accountability part of it? It's just this. I had the energy with me that created him into being a thief, and I judged him. Had I not done that, we would have been innocent of that crime. Both of us. I don't know. We also wouldn't have added that story to all of the myriad other stories about how people do things to us. Things aren't done to us. We attract certain energies. I don't know if anybody's ever had this experience, but I can say I have. I'll come upon somebody who I know a little bit, and I'll just start blabbering. I'm not thinking in attunement. I'm not in tune with the spirit per se, not to my awareness anyway. But I'll say something that's just in line with what they, in their energetic space, could identify with and receive. And it may be something very enigmatic or innocent, really, that, I could say, well, that's just the way the world is, and leave it at that. But I really don't believe that, and I don't believe that that's the way God sees the world. But I might say something like that because of the energy that that person is attracting in. That's what they could believe, and that adds to their story. But understand that deep inside, we love one another enough to know that when we finally do awaken, we'll see what powerful co-creators of misrepresentation in this life we have been. Taking accountability for our actions, our energy, and our words, because words are powerful, will open up the possibility of our atonement, where we begin to love one another, not even seeing a separation, but another Christ. Gods and goddesses within us all. When we start to love ourselves, and then we start to be accountable for our word and deed, then we have partaken of that atonement or at-one-ment. Then we can look upon our brother and sister in total innocence, without judgment, without hatred, especially without shaming them or causing them guilt or harm. Now, I grew up pretty rough, in a rough area. Like I said, I was born in Los Angeles, but I was raised in Texas and all around the world at times. I've seen many strange things, many horrible things. And I had a hard life, but I'm not going to whine about the past. I forgave it. Instead, I can be here present right now and say, oh my goodness, it's a beautiful day here. And I love it, just as it is. I had to work through my shame and my guilt and I had to overcome some learning disabilities that weren't even diagnosed when I was in college. These things have been made up in the human story after I graduated. And it was very hard for me to graduate because I actually have ADHD, retained attention deficit. And it was very difficult for me to do certain types of coursework, like statistics and calculus and physics and chemistry. And okay, we can go on. I excelled in things like psychology and music and languages, but I didn't know. So I asked a counselor and they didn't know. So they gave me bad advice and made it very difficult. But once we get through it, we just forgive all that. And we say, you know what? Somehow I managed. I focused. I did apply my attention and reached my goal. And I was the first person in my family, a fairly large family, to graduate from college. And I would say I'm just grateful for all of that experiencing. I've really seen a lot of the dark side, and yet I live in a relatively crime-free and innocent time and area. I'm all the more grateful for that. So again, I think that brings us back to what is it that we need to see that we are responsible for? And usually it's for applying a misperception and then projecting our reality upon the world, and it's not real. our illusion would be a better way of saying. We're projecting our illusion upon the world. See how easy it would be then if we stopped doing that alone? The world will return to innocence because that's what we create in love. When we love one another, we are experiencing our divine higher self. And I do believe that that frequency makes it so that when other people come up, we don't say mistakes. We show love, non-judgment, and more positive communication, more guidance along the path. I like to say I'm a way shower because I've been to Nirvana. I have been in the presence of God, which is really hard to define, so I'm not going to. Many people have said throughout the centuries, there's no word to describe oneness. Perfect oneness means there is nothing else, no other, no attribute to explain what it is. But I came back because of love, and I came back for family and for the things that I was attached to. Some of those I've been able to release, and it just makes me feel all the more free. And some of them I'm still working on. And that makes me humble, or allows me to choose humility. And I'm proud of myself, loving myself, expanding my awareness every day now. What a gift, what a blessing that is. I couldn't ask for much more. I don't know if there's anything to ask for. So back to you, my friend. I feel like I'm going on and on and on.
So I think this experience of having been there and coming back is a very important experience as well to delve into, because if one has experience of being in the presence of love, and one comes back to a world in which separation appears to be real, does one get this feeling that one should be there and not here? Or how do you deal with that?
Well, good question. When I say way shower, I'm not here trying to tell everybody or teach everybody anything. I simply shine as much as I'm able to. That light is real. It is divine, and it will lead the way. Spirit does it. We are one. So when you come upon someone who's feeling like they're on the right path, instead of maybe choosing into our more base desire and say, oh, self-righteous hypocrite, or accusing of, okay, you're spiritually sidestepping something here, you'll find fault. You'll find a way to make your world miserable, as it has been, if it has been. And that's only fair to say. You can be a manifester of lots of wealth and lots of accolades, maybe fame and fortune, both. Because you are a powerful divine being. But until we stop wanting things that are outside of us and start to realize that everything is ours already, everything of value is love already. Then the light bulb goes off above us and we say, okay, I didn't have to do all that hard work. I didn't have to do all that silliness, whatever it might be. I didn't have to rob people, take their wallet, make them afraid. I didn't have to choose into a world where our whole economy is based on tit for tat. What can I get from that person? No, we choose instead, what can I do to be in tune with the divine will of God? And what can I say and to whom? Again, that is a reference from A Course in Miracles. What would you like to know now?
Yes, that's an important question of what to say to whom and where to come from. And I think the answer that I always like to get from Spirit, or have been getting, is come from where you are at now. And that's the most powerful place to be at. And so even if you're in the greatest turmoil or have these negative thoughts, to be honest about it and to speak about it is a more powerful teaching than to start pretending you're somewhere else.
I have terrible stage fright. I stated that like it was a real thing, but I would say all my life, my parents were in showbiz. They kind of pushed me out onto a stage when I was about 8 years old. Scared me so badly that I don't like to appear in public. I don't like to come on to shows even, especially when invited at the spur of the moment. I don't know what I'm going to say. I might make myself foolish again. And I might not. Maybe I'm starting to realize I'm okay. I really, if I am fully in the presence with the divine, we're immutable, unsurmountable, invincible. For the divine does not fear at all.
That's a powerful story about stage fright. Having had a family that is on the stage all the time and then being pushed on the stage and not wanting to be on the stage. Yeah. So how did you, I think it's great that you're able to see that and then say, okay, I choose to be out there now rather than being forced out there or made to be out there, and choose to be okay with the way you are now and what you have to share now. That's a huge, huge step forward, and one in which you will find more and more joy, I think, even.
Yeah, let's let that happen. I put these slogans around now: love, laugh, live. Everything is working out for me. Where two or more are gathered in his name, there I will be also. Hey, that's a good place to be. In doing this, I've also healed my own body. I had to have an experience with osteoarthritis to where I couldn't walk anymore. It was just too painful. I was listed as handicapped by the medical community. And this is just in 2023. I, having been a healer, kept hearing the voice saying, well, healer, heal yourself. I've done a lot of work on myself in order to overcome my fears, my frightening experiences. And in retirement, I'm finding I wasn't prepared. I was actually forced into early retirement because I was working for the government in the United States, and I became a whistleblower inadvertently because I found an injustice that was being done, in my opinion, and mentioned it to a supervisor. And before you know it, I got blackballed. So I retired early, and retiring early doesn't set you up very well financially. So I've had to live with pain and poverty for a number of years. And I can tell you, I finally said, I can't do it by myself. Where should I go? What shall I do? And they said, okay, you've got one of the best hip replacement surgeons in the country right here in this little town in Utah. Go talk to them. And I did. It turns out they replaced both hips last year. And right now, I was just working when Akko called and gave me this opportunity. I was working on a canoe so I can go to the lake and join into a floating concert and paddle out there. I can run. I could ride my bike again. I can walk without pain. And I can hike in these beautiful mountains, which I love to do. Still working on being in better shape, but I think I'm joyous, in fact, that I got to heal myself, even though it meant acceptance of what is. And that could be a whole other topic, Wanako. We've got folks that cannot accept what it is that's holding them back. And yet that is where you really get to begin this journey of 1,000 steps that brings you back to the place that we all began. Oneness.
Saying yes to where you are at is a huge, huge thing. And yes, another question that goes with it is, where are you really at? Because one might judge it that way, another may judge it that way. And it may not be the same thing, right? So where is the truth of where I'm at now? That's where we get to by being honest about what's going on, right? And saying
True.
it. And if it doesn't work, if it doesn't make sense, we'll notice because we're open about it. And perhaps a sibling will point us out, or we will point ourselves to it. It really doesn't matter what way it comes from, right? But the thing is that by being where you are at, I think you get the most out of it. You get the answers. And that's why we're so afraid of being at where we are at. It's one of the greatest fears we have, I think. And I think A Course in Miracles is also clear about that. The closest you get to being with the divine is now. And that's what we're most afraid of. At least what the Course in Miracles calls the ego, or the separation thinking, is afraid of that.
Yeah, I used to have a lot of people, and that's still the case. A lot of people say they just can't slow their mind down. They cannot meditate. They cannot stop thinking. And that condemns them. By themselves, they are condemning their ability to be in the present moment. Find a way. Find a practitioner if you have to. But the advice that my guides give me now, and I listen better than I ever have in my past, the advice that they give me is go to God first and listen, and then do it. Doesn't take a plan. It doesn't take a lot of effort. In fact, sometimes it takes putting down all your effort. Putting it down or aside would be a better way to say it. You can always go back to it. You never lose anything unless you choose again. And you do get to choose again. And you get to choose maybe a shortcut. It's okay. Because after all, you've suffered enough. I did study Buddhism for a while, but I do not believe that we need to suffer in life. I think it's important to understand what it is and to develop the experiencing and the compassion necessary to love, not only through our own suffering, but through suffering that we might find existing with another, if we still see an outside other. Be a way shower. They'll find their way. They'll pass. We don't heal. They heal. When we all heal and we start to change, and I really believe that that's the purpose and the main work of the millennium reign, which is the reign that I believe we're in now. The work is the ascension, not just of Gaia, Mother Earth, but of all the people on the earth. Yep, now we get to work on ascending our vibration to a higher dimensional tuning, you might say, a harmony, where maybe we don't need a government. Maybe we don't have the same economy. Maybe it's one that is truly loving and truly eternal and based on divine principles. That would be expanding our thinking outside the box, we used to say. Well, I've come to experience that that's not as easy as it is to say. But I love that we're getting help, that there are more non-physical beings helping us. I like to call them the crew, and that I feel like we've got the best crew in the universe helping us now. And now is when we need them. Boy, do we need them, especially in an election year. Oh my goodness. Yes, we need help. And I think when we start to be willing to accept that, friends will show up with the answers. Everything is working out for me. Is that in the Course in Miracles also? I believe it is.
In A Course in Miracles, it also says, if you knew who was walking with you, you wouldn't fear at all. Things like that.
Beautiful. Isn't it inspiring? And that's why I still go once in a while. I don't go to the group because, they have a full house. I would be taking up a chair that I don't really need to take up as much anymore. But I frequently will invite someone to join the group and then foster them into the group and see how they choose, whether they're going to be there every day or every week or just once in a while. But I'm always going to promote what was done and what has been revealed as important, but what is being spoken through the Spirit in this now moment is the only thing that we have to or get to focus upon. Some say they might say, oh, wow, you're a near-death experiencer, so you know more than others. And I'm saying, yeah, I know better than most. But I'm still stubborn. I might still like to indulge in some chocolate and some favored foods or something. But I don't want to judge and I don't want to harm. And I do choose to see only love.
That's a big one, to choose to see only love. Because we tend to forget what love is because that's who we are according to A Course in Miracles. So we've actually forgotten who we are. If we're not seeing love, only love, it's a sign that we've forgotten who we are and we need to remember. Yeah. That's a big one.
Boy, is it. I'm very grateful to have started my healing process and to be mobile again, just to be walking, playing, and getting to enjoy my grandchildren and children. It was very difficult for me to put aside some of my religious upbringing because it seemed to be the strength. It seemed to be the direction to go, but it was not. In fact, it was captivity. And it wasn't until I broke free and found that it's only when we make that choice to see only love, to be more Christ-like, to be the Christ even if it's just for 1 nanosecond. That's a very short time, but hey, that's a step in the right direction. So give yourself credit. Everybody, take a deep breath in and let it go. Let the stress go. Find yourself in peace. And you can actually be in peace everywhere you go.
Yeah, I think that's a good one because we usually know that we take ourselves along wherever we go. So if we're at peace, we take that along as well. So it's depending on what we're taking along that we are, right? Are experiencing ourselves as if we were that. So if we can experience ourselves as peaceful, then we'll be taking that along wherever we go. Yeah, beautiful. So are there any questions by those who are here live before we start wrapping up? I guess not. Well, then we'll start wrapping up, Rodger. So is there any question that I didn't ask you that you'd like to answer?
I get to make one more comment. Little tap on the shoulder says, this wouldn't hurt. Realize that, yes, we've brought the Divine Feminine back. We recognize the goddess and everybody, really. We need to be able to say and really understand in our hearts that even though we may manifest in this dimension as masculine or feminine, a man or a woman, we all are both the divine feminine, the divine masculine. the light, the dark, both of us. And that we co-create this existence. Now that's the direction I would like to see people go, instead of choosing a camp and then fighting like they're, what do they call them, an agitator? An activist is the word. You don't need to be a fighter, because there is no one besides the divine that you need to see. You're only fighting with yourself. These energies are one. They love one another. The only way we create and expand the universe is by coming together in harmony, without one above the other, without contending with each other, in real peace, and without expecting to get something from somebody else outside of you. I think that's a good way to wrap this up.
Course in Miracles states this concept as well. It says, only illusions can fight illusions. There are only, so there is no war when it comes to the truth. There is no fighting. So when you accept the truth, the fighting drops away, of course, because that's only illusions fighting illusions.
Yeah. Beautifully said, brother. Beautifully said. Thank you. And thank you for giving me the opportunity to put into words a little bit about who I think I am. Kind of gives me a place to start from for the rest of this now moment.
And thank you for joining, and for joining in this journey of walking each other home. As that is the purpose of this podcast, to walk each other home. So thank you so much for joining in this. And anyone who would like to join in this purpose of walking each other home is welcome to reach out to me and be a guest on the podcast as well, or contribute in some other way, or find someone else who would be a good fit. I'm always thankful for every way of connecting that strengthens that journey home. So thank you so much, Rodger. Thank you to all the listeners. Please spread the word and review the podcast and subscribe, or and find people who might be interested in it and let them find out if they want to subscribe, so that this can grow. Thank you so much, Rodger. It was a pleasure talking with you.
Thank you. I'm able to get over my stage fright a little bit.
Yes, it's important to have a new way of seeing it when you've been forced into something where you need to, stage. I think on the stage, one of the big things that many actors think is they have to, or many people on the stage think they have to put up a show. They have to be a certain way in order to entertain people and so on. And to find another way, like you're doing now, is saying, I'm coming from where I'm at now, is another way to do it, which includes all the things that are important to the stage, like entertainment. You are entertaining people. You are giving them space to go deeper, to recognize things that in you or in themselves that are helpful or unhelpful, and may not be helpful to them. And I say, okay, that's not mine. And that's really, really important work. So thank you so much for joining me in this. So blessings to you all until next time.